Breaking news, and this is a big one. Phil Jackson appears to be on his way out soon, as in Wednesday morning in New York as president of the Knicks. Our Ramona Shelburne with this tweet: Knicks and President Phil Jackson expected to announce that they're parting ways early Wednesday morning. That was Ramona's tweet. And joining us now on the phone is Ramona Shelburne. And Ramona, late Tuesday night, clarity expected in the Knicks situation. Early Wednesday morning, for the sake of clarity, what do you know?
Well, look, I think this all accelerated very quickly on Tuesday, and a lot of these conversations went deep into the night to the point where, I think it sort of became clear what was going to happen here. And, Adrian Wojnarowski from The Vertical had a report out saying that they were that James Dolan had been having conversations and thinking about Phil Jackson's future, and obviously once one report or any whiff of that gets out, everything else sort of falls into place, right? As you're a reporter, but I think this all happened, quite frankly, very quickly, late Tuesday afternoon and into the evening in New York.
Why now?
Well, look, this week the Knicks sort of had a decision to make, and that was whether or not to buy out Carmelo Anthony. And the idea, Mark Stein reported this earlier today, that Carmelo Anthony had asked the Knicks if they would buy him out, and the idea was that he would get a buyout and go to a contender, presumably Cleveland. And the Knicks are absolutely not going to do that. He has 2 years remaining on his contract, and that no trade clause that we obviously we've been talking about for quite some time. And so there's no end to the stalemate. Like, if you're not going to buy him out, and there's no way he will agree to a trade, I just think Phil Jackson and the Knicks could not see a future where all of them were back in that sort of toxic triangle we've been in for the past year. At the start of next year, it was affecting the entire team. It was affecting the entire organization. It was affecting Kristaps Porzingis and the conversations there. I mean, my understanding is that the situation with Carmelo Anthony sort of, affected that entire locker room and Phil's ability to lead them in the way that he wanted to, in the direction he wanted to. And I think there came a point where everybody involved just kind of realized if Phil is not going to stay in this role beyond the 2 years remaining on his deal. So he had 2 years remaining. Carmelo, you had 2 years remaining. If he wasn't going to stay in that role beyond the 2 years, and I don't think he had any plans to do that, he's 71 years old right now, then I think they got to a point where you don't want to have a whole other year begin like this with this cloud hanging over them. And at the end of the day, Carmelo had the no trade clause. Contractually speaking, he didn't have to go anywhere.
There's one school of thought that Phil Jackson kind of forced the Knicks' hand, that this is what he wanted. Where do you stand on that?
I didn't get that. I really felt, that he was working all the way to the end. I think the difference here is that maybe he's not a front office guy. Maybe a lot of the things that Phil was doing, they play differently when he's coaching. I mean, I knew him in L.A. really well here with the Lakers, and the way he would coach through the media and needle guys and poke guys. That's one thing when they see you every day, and that's one thing when they talk to you and hear you, and it's another thing when you show up at practice every once in a while and you're up in the suite and you're up in the stands and they don't really know you and they don't have that trust and connection. And that was the one thing Phil always had, is that connection to his guys and that ability to get them to all be going in the same direction and rooting for each other, that teamwork and camaraderie. You can't have that as an executive. It's really hard. If anything, it's the opposite as an executive, where you're not supposed to get attached or connected. And so some of the same tactics that he used as an executive to try to move things in the way he wanted them, they land very differently when you're in that spot than they were when you were a coach.
It's no secret that the Carmelo Anthony-Phil Jackson relationship was bad, but how much played into this decision by the Knicks and James Dolan when the Porzingis situation apparently went south over the exit interview?
Yeah, I believe that Phil was trying to teach Porzingis the lesson. I think he was trying to say, hey, listen, this is not something that you can just blow off. I think it was a difficult position for Porzingis to be in, always being put in the position to say, what do you think of the triangle? What do you think of Carmelo? What do you think of Phil? That's a hard position for a young player to be in, and I think he just didn't want to answer those questions publicly or privately, and so he bolted. But that was not okay with Phil, and I think Phil, the entertaining of trade offers and the fact that leaked out, I think that was his way of sort of letting Porzingis know that that wasn't okay with him. But I'll tell you this, I heard this week that he was still thinking of ways of repairing that relationship, of reaching out to him directly. I think he was even thinking of making a trip out to see Porzingis this summer to connect with him man-to-man on his own turf. And so, like I say, I don't think he was trying to get himself fired, because he was working, and I want to say the word coaching, but he wasn't coaching, obviously, in this role as an executive. But maybe that was the problem all along. He wasn't coaching.
Ramona Shelburne, when it comes to the end of Phil Jackson's run with the Knicks, her information is better than yours. Jackson, that's one take after our Ramona Shelburne broke the news early Wednesday that Phil Jackson is on his way out as the Knicks president today. Unable to turn the franchise into a winner after 3+ years, Brian Windhorst on Jackson's Knicks legacy. If on Wednesday clarity is redefined as Phil Jackson is fired, what would his legacy be as a New York Knick, given what he did as a player and then what he didn't do as an executive?
Well, this has been a horrible last chapter of his career. And, maybe he could find another act as a consultant somewhere, but this isn't what he wanted this to be. He did this job for the money. He was very happy in retirement. He was looking to be a president somewhere, but certainly not at a position like this. And he did it because they offered him so much money over 5 years that he couldn't say no. And basically what he's going to probably walk out of this with is a lot of money and a tarnished reputation. He's still going to have his 11 rings. He's still going to be one of the greatest coaches of all time. But he could go down as one of the worst executives of all time over these 3 years.
Money can't buy you love. Brian Windhorst. All right, as a head coach, Phil Jackson made the postseason in all 20 seasons, but he failed to guide the Knicks to the playoffs in his 3 full seasons as team president. Did not go as planned. Remember, he won a title with the Knicks as a player. Knicks have gone 90 and 171 since Jackson became team president in March of 2014. That's the 5th worst win percentage in the league over that span, ahead only of the Nets, Timberwolves, Lakers, and Sixers.
Anthony.